Who closed the lions' mouths for Daniel? Was it just a miracle, or did an unseen presence enter that pit in the dead of night? Scripture tells us an angel was sent, but the text veils his identity, shrouding him in holy silence. Was it Michael the warrior? Gabriel the messenger? Or is there a forgotten angel, one whose name was never revealed, whose mission was so sacred that history could only hint at it? Tonight, we journey into the darkness of the den and into the heart of a mystery hidden for centuries. The forgotten angel who stood with Daniel when all hope was lost, and whose intervention changed the course of empires and faith itself. The night in Babylon is thick with a silence that presses against the windows of every palace chamber and peasant hut alike, broken only by the distant uneasy flicker of torchlight on sandstone, and the low, muted whisper of prayers that never quite find their voice. Somewhere behind the high walls and gilded gates, the king's decree echoes like a final trumpet through corridors filled with the scent of incense and fear. Daniel, servant of the Most High and exile in a foreign land, walks a lonely path between trembling guards whose eyes cannot meet his. Their armor rattles with every step, not in pride, but in terror, for they know they serve a power that can order death for a prayer uttered in faith. He walks as one marked, his wrists bound with ropes that have tied up 1,000 condemned before him, but his eyes are clear, steady, defiant in their gentleness. The Babylonian night is a living thing, watchful and hungry, as if even the stars turn their gaze away from the pit waiting just beyond the city's edge. There, beneath the weight of empire and the heavy black velvet of midnight, the earth opens into a mouth of stone, an ancient den hewn for judgment and terror, its depths alive with the scent of blood and the deep rumbling purr of hunger. The lions inside, creatures of muscle and majesty, pace restlessly, eyes luminous with a light borrowed from the dawn of creation itself. Daniel's accusers stand at a distance, faces hidden in the folds of their robes, unwilling to meet the gaze of the man they have condemned. Their hearts beat with the satisfaction of a trap well set, a law well twisted, and a rival soon to be nothing more than bones. Darius the king stands apart from them all, torn between the iron of his own decree and the ache of friendship. His voice is barely more than a whisper, trembling between command and plea as he says, "Your God, whom you serve continually, he will deliver you." But the words hang in the air, hollow with doubt, battered by the laughter of those who trust in no God at all. Rough hands seize Daniel, dragging him toward the edge. The pit yawns beneath him, and the roar of the lions is no longer distant but immediate, a chorus of power and longing, the sound of nature unchained and unconcerned with the affairs of kings. The stone rim is cold beneath his feet. The guards hesitate, as if in that instant the weight of the empire itself were pressing down on their shoulders, demanding obedience but recoiling from the act. Daniel does not beg, he does not fight. His lips move in silent prayer, not to the king or the captors, but to the God whose presence he feels like a fire at the edge of his soul. The ropes are cut. For a moment, time holds its breath. Then, gravity takes him, and he falls, not as a victim, but as an offering, a man cast not to his end, but into the hands of a mystery older than Babylon itself. The air in the pit is thick and living, alive with the heat of great bodies and the metallic tang of old blood. The ground rises to meet him in a jarring, breath-stealing rush, but he lands with a grace that does not belong to the condemned. The lions, startled, recoil. For an instant, predator and prey stare at one another, ancient eyes meeting ancient faith, power meeting peace. The king's men heave the stone, a wheel of carved granite heavier than guilt itself, over the mouth of the pit. It thuds into place with a sound that is both ending and beginning, sealing Daniel inside with the restless kings of the wild. Outside, Babylon feasts, unaware that a greater story is unfolding in the earth's belly. Within, darkness reigns, dense and total, swallowing even the memory of light. Yet in the heart of that darkness, something happens that the histories will never record and the wise men will never explain. Daniel, alone among the lions, breathes in the thick, fetid air and waits. not for rescue, but for God. He kneels, his body a shadow among greater shadows, the muscles of the lions shifting in the gloom like living mountains. There is no panic in him. His heart does not race, his prayers do not waver. Outside the pit, the world sleeps or schemes. Inside, Daniel enters into a deeper silence, one that pulses with the heartbeat of the universe itself. He prays, not with the desperate bargaining of a man who fears death, but with the unshakable calm of one who has already seen the face of judgment and found it wanting. The lions draw near. Their breath is hot on his skin, their eyes two golden moons in the unbroken dark. They circle him, muscles tensed, claws unsheathed. Their hunger is real, their power absolute. The den is no myth. It is a tomb carved for truth, a place where the power of kings is measured against the sovereignty of God. The hours pass in a darkness deeper than night, but Daniel feels a stirring, not outside, but within. The air shifts. There's a presence in the pit now, invisible but undeniable, a stillness that is somehow more than silence. To those outside, the night is ordinary, uneventful, but inside the den, eternity enters, slipping through stone and darkness and fear. The lion's roars falter, caught between throat and breath, as if a greater command than hunger has entered the chamber. Daniel is not alone. There's another in the den, a visitor whose steps do not stir dust, whose breath does not fog the air, whose presence is felt not seen, like the memory of fire in the cold. The lions, for all their majesty, shrink from this unseen guest. Their muscles relax, their jaws close, their rage cools into awe. Daniel's prayer becomes praise, his fear swallowed up in the certainty that what stands beside him is no creature of flesh and blood, but a messenger sent from beyond the reach of Babylon's law, beyond the grip of death itself. The stone above his head is no longer a barrier, but a promise. A seal not of defeat but of intervention. Daniel rests his head against the cold wall of the pit, eyes closing in trust as the night thickens around him. Above, Babylon dreams of power and permanence. Below, in a den meant for destruction, the first act of deliverance unfolds. An angel has entered the lion's den. His name is hidden from history, but his presence will echo through eternity, changing not only the fate of one man, but the course of kings, the measure of faith, and the memory of every soul who ever faces darkness and waits for dawn. Above the sealed pit, Darius tosses through a sleepless night, captive to the relentless procession of regret and dread, haunted by the image of a faithful friend condemned by his own royal decree. The banquet halls have gone silent, the oil lamps guttering in pools of shadow as courtiers and servants alike dare not disturb the king's agony. Even the musicians who would normally soothe his troubles with lyres and flutes have withdrawn, leaving only the soft, irregular footfall of guards and the king's muffled sobs as companions to the royal insomnia. Outside the palace, the city murmurs with rumor. Daniel, the exile from Jerusalem, is gone. Daniel, who read the writing on the wall, is now food for beasts. The counselors who engineered his downfall whisper their own prayers, not to Daniel's God, but to their own ambitions, confident that their plot has been sealed with the king's signet and the weight of stone. But Darius, for all his might and wealth, cannot command peace for himself. His thoughts chase themselves in fevered circles. Did he not hear Daniel's innocence in every word? Did he not sense a greater justice at work when Daniel prayed by his window, heedless of the law? The king's faith is smaller than his regret, and his night is longer than any he has known, stretched out across the endless dark between decree and dawn. In the den, Daniel does not sleep, but neither does he despair. The darkness is absolute, punctuated only by the rhythmic pulse of lion's breath, the faint shifting of fur against stone, and the memory of words once spoken in faith. He kneels, his knees pressed into the hard earth, his hands folded over the hope that his God sees through stone and shadow. The air is dense, electric with the presence of another, a silent visitor whose mission is not yet fully understood, whose arrival is not heralded by trumpet or flame, but by a peace that settles deeper than fear. Scripture, ever careful, names him only as an angel, leaving the rest veiled in sacred ambiguity. But the story refuses to end with mere survival. The stage is set for a revelation. In the memory of Israel, the angelic visitor is not new. He is the same mysterious presence who once met Abraham on the plains of Mamre, speaking with the voice of the Lord and receiving the hospitality of a tent before announcing the impossible birth of Isaac. He is the stranger who wrestled Jacob beside the river Jabbok, blessing the patriarch with a limp and a new name, Israel, after a night of holy struggle. He is the unseen fourth who walked among the flames with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, whose form was like a son of the gods, and whose presence transformed a furnace into a sanctuary. Now, in the lion's den, the echoes of those ancient encounters resound, and the pattern repeats. When the faithful are pressed beyond the limits of human endurance, a visitor arrives silent yet sovereign, not simply to deliver, but to reveal. Jewish tradition has long debated the nature of this angel. Some call him Michael, the archangel who contends for God's people and stands watch over Israel in times of judgment. Others suggest Gabriel, whose words carry the secrets of prophecy and the decrees of the Most High. Yet, a deeper stream of tradition sees in these appearances the angel of the Lord, a figure at once distinct from God and yet bearing his very name, a mysterious intermediary who speaks as the Lord, acts with his authority, and reveals his compassion in moments of crisis. The den, then, is no mere chamber of survival. It is a sanctuary, a holy of holies carved beneath the earth, where the veil between heaven and earth is as thin as a whisper. Daniel senses it. The angel's presence is not merely defensive, but declarative. The lions, for all their strength, are but instruments of a greater drama. Their jaws are bound by more than angelic power. They are stilled by a command that comes from the heart of eternity. The angel stands, unseen yet undeniable, a boundary between life and death, chaos and order, fear and faith. His silence is not emptiness, but the fullness of divine intent, a silence that speaks, a stillness that testifies. Daniel, kneeling in the dark, feels the angel's nearness as a warmth that pushes back the cold, as a confidence that sings louder than the echo of danger. There are no words exchanged. None are needed. The messenger's mission is clear: to guard, yes, but also to unveil, to show Daniel, and through him every generation to come, that the living God is not distant, that his presence descends not only to rescue, but to reveal. In the lion's den, as the world above sleeps and schemes, Daniel is enveloped in a revelation older than Babylon and deeper than the pit itself. He is not alone. The silent visitor is more than a defender. He is the living sign of Aichi, God who steps into the places of greatest threat, whose identity is as much a mystery as it is a promise, whose very hiddenness is part of the miracle. As the hours crawl by and dawn edges closer, Daniel understands what so many before him had glimpsed in their own desperate nights, that when history trembles and faith is tested, heaven sends not just deliverance, but disclosure. The den becomes a holy place, the lions a silent congregation, and the angel, unseen, unnamed, fulfills his mission, to make visible in the heart of darkness the reality of the invisible God. Before the sun crests the horizon, before Darius's lamenting footsteps reach the sealed pit, the true story of the angelic visitor deepens, unfolding far beyond the gaze of Babylon and the memory of mortals. In the stillness that lingers between Daniel's prayer and the break of dawn, something ancient stirs. A story inscribed not on clay tablets or royal decrees, but written in fire and eternity among the host of heaven. For while the world knows of Michael the warrior, whose sword flashes against the powers of darkness, and Gabriel the herald, whose words carry the weight of divine decree, there exists an older, more mysterious order of messengers. These are the ones whom Scripture rarely names, whose origins are clothed in mystery, whose functions reach into the very architecture of creation. They are the Watchers, the Ophanim, the angel of the presence, a gallery of celestial servants who move where judgment and mercy meet, whose silent missions shape the rise and fall of empires, the fate of kings, and the secret history of the world. Their presence is hinted at in the first moments of existence. When the foundations of the earth were laid, the morning stars sang together, and the sons of God shouted for joy. Among these, the Watchers stood, appointed as stewards over the destinies of nations, bearing witness to both faithfulness and rebellion. Their duty is not simply to observe, but to intervene at critical thresholds, executing justice or extending mercy according to the will of the Most High. They are named in Daniel's own visions as Watchers, Holy Ones, who decree the felling of kings and the humbling of the proud, not mere witnesses, but participants in the unfolding drama of God's providence. Alongside them are the Ovanim, the wheels within wheels described by the prophet Ezekiel, alive with eyes and flame, turning unceasingly beneath the throne of God. Unlike the seraphim who cry, "Holy, holy, holy," above the throne, or the cherubim who guard the sacred boundaries, the Ophanim are the agents of movement and divine synchronization. They are the machinery of glory, spinning at the intersection of eternity and time, ensuring that every decree spoken in heaven finds its appointed hour upon the earth. Their silence is their strength. They do not deliver messages, but enact the unspoken will of the Creator, aligning destinies and orchestrating the Uitio, mysterious choreography of judgment and redemption. And at the center of this invisible order stands the Angel of the Presence, a figure so close to the essence of God that Scripture says, "My name is in him." He appears throughout Israel's story as the silent executor of divine command, leading the people through the wilderness, standing in the fire of the burning bush, speaking with the authority of the Lord himself. His glory is not his own, but a perfect reflection, and his presence is felt most keenly at the boundaries of human comprehension, where fear and wonder give way to worship. These beings, unnamed and often unnoticed, are the backbone of the cosmic order. They do not compete for prominence, nor do they seek the prayers or the praise of mortals. Their power is the power of obedience, perfect, immediate, and unrelenting. When Daniel falls into the den, it is not to the care of Michael or Gabriel that he is entrusted, but to one of these ancient agents whose mission is so sacred that even his name is withheld, whose function is to sustain the movement of the throne at the very moment when human hope fails. Throughout the chronicles of Israel, these hidden messengers appear at turning points, in the dreams of kings, the fires of judgment, the restoration of the exiled, and the silences that shape the course of generations. They walk between the worlds, crossing the thresholds where empires crumble and faith is born anew. They are the unseen hands that still the lions, that open and close the doors of destiny, that mark the difference between annihilation and deliverance. Their anonymity is their power. By remaining unknown, they point to the one who sends them, ensuring that glory flows only upward to the throne from which all decrees proceed. Yet even in their silence, their influence is unmistakable. The den becomes a theater not only of divine intervention, but of revelation, reminding all who would understand that heaven's might is not found in the spectacular, but in the faithful execution of holy purpose by those who need no earthly recognition. In the darkness, as Daniel is sheltered by an invisible hand, the history of angelic orders is made manifest. The Watchers who record and decree, the Ophanim who turn the wheels of providence, the Angel of the Presence who carries the very name of God into the crisis of his people. They are the hidden chorus of redemption, moving where the story most needs a miracle, arriving not to receive honor, but to give witness to the Lord whose word endures forever. And so, in the deepest hour of Babylon's night, the origins of the forgotten angel are unveiled, not as a footnote in the saga of Daniel, but as the central force sustaining faith, fulfilling promise, and holding the balance between judgment and mercy until the dawn. Night deepens in the pit, swallowing every trace of light and hope the world above might offer. Yet within this sanctuary of darkness, the true nature of the crisis is revealed, not merely the contest of flesh and fang, but the collision of earthly decree with heavenly command. Daniel, hemmed in by the living walls of lion muscle and bone, feels the rumble of hunger in the throats of the great beasts circling, their golden eyes watching him with a blend of curiosity, caution, and a primal, relentless longing. There is nothing between him and the power of nature but faith, a faith forged through decades of exile, obedience, and trust in the unseen. As the hours bleed into one another, and the air in the pit thickens with the heat and breath of the lions, Daniel does not cower or curse. He lifts his voice in praise, a melody that rises not as a plea for survival, but as an anthem of surrender to the God who has already numbered his days. He remembers the songs of Zion, the psalms whispered in the night, and the promises written on his heart since childhood. My God sent his angel and shut the lions' mouths so that they have not hurt me, because I was found innocent before him. The sound, though barely more than a tremor, reverberates through the den and seems to shift the very fabric of fear that hangs heavy on every surface. In that sacred hush, the silent visitor, forgotten by men but known in the courts of heaven, moves. His presence is real as the air itself, his authority greater than the appetite of any beast. The lions slow their pacing, their roars turn to low purrs, their snarling replaced by a strange, deep quiet. The fiercest among them, a male whose mane bristles with the dust of battles past, approaches Daniel and rather than attack, lies down at his feet, head bowed as if acknowledging a power older and deeper than instinct. The others follow suit, and the den becomes a chamber of peace, a living miracle that suspends every law of nature and every expectation of death. It is as if, for a single, trembling night, the curse upon creation is momentarily lifted, and the wild remembers the harmony of Eden. Daniel's body is preserved, untouched by tooth or claw, but it is not merely his flesh that is saved, something far larger is at stake. In the stillness, the angel's true work is revealed, not only the protection of a righteous man, but the upholding of the order that governs all things, the testimony that no king, no law, no empire, no blade, no den, and no decree can overrule the will of the Almighty. The angel acts not as a bodyguard, but as a witness, an executor of heavenly verdict, standing at the fulcrum of history to declare that faith will not be swallowed by fear, and that those who serve God with whole hearts are never truly abandoned. The hours pass, and Daniel, resting against the cool stone, is surrounded by the warmth of lions who have become his sentinels, their breathing deep and steady, their ferocity melted into docility, not through force, but by a command uttered in realms beyond human sight. No one outside hears the silent transaction, the moment when the eternal enters the temporal and the natural bows to the supernatural, but within the pit, the air is charged with the electricity of the miraculous. The angel, whose name is hidden, does not speak, but his silence is filled with meaning. In it is the assurance of God's sovereignty, the confirmation of Daniel's innocence, and the declaration that heaven's purposes will never be thwarted by the schemes of men. Meanwhile, above, Babylon sleeps fitfully, and the king paces his halls in agony, while the counselors who engineered Daniel's fall dream of triumph. Yet beneath their feet in the earth's hidden chamber, the verdict is already rendered, and a testimony is being forged that will outlast the empire itself. The den is transformed from a place of execution into a sanctuary of revelation, a crucible in which the faith of one man and the mercy of the eternal intersect. As dawn stirs faintly above the horizon, Daniel's eyes close in a peace that surpasses reason. Around him, the lions keep silent vigil, and above him, the angel stands guard until the stone is rolled away. In this night, more than a man is delivered, a witness is born, a truth is proclaimed, and the order of the cosmos is vindicated, showing that while earthly decrees may seal pits and silence prayers, the decree of heaven is the final word, and its messenger, though forgotten by men, is ever faithful in the heart of the storm. The first gold blush of dawn slips across the city of Babylon, gilding its towers and casting long shadows that seem to flee from the coming of a new day. Yet nowhere does the light break with more urgency than in the royal chambers, where King Darius rises from a night of torment his eyes hollow and sleepless, his heart pounding with dread and desperate hope. Driven by a force stronger than royal dignity, he rushes through the echoing corridors, ignoring the startled gazes of his guards, his robes billowing as he races toward the pit that has become both a tomb and a courtroom for Daniel. The stone is rolled away with a groan of effort, sunlight flooding the darkness in a single golden blade, and the king's voice trembles on the edge of weeping as he calls, "O Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to deliver you from the lions?" There is a breathless hush, a silence that stretches from the rim of the den to the farthest market stall in Babylon. And then, rising from the depths, comes a voice filled not with fear or pain, but with calm assurance. "O King, live forever. My God sent his angel and shut the lions' mouths, so that they have not hurt me, because I was found innocent before him. And also, O King, I have done no wrong before you." The words reverberate not only through the stone chambers, but through the centuries, a declaration that faith outlasts every threat, and that the unseen hand of God is mightier than the edicts of emperors. The king weeps, joy and relief, mingling in tears that wash away the night's regrets. Daniel is lifted from the den, his robes untouched, his body unscarred, his spirit radiant with the peace of one who has walked through the valley of the shadow and found a companion there. Darius, swept by awe and gratitude, turns to his scribes and dictates a proclamation to every corner of his kingdom, commanding all peoples, nations, and languages to tremble and fear before the God of Daniel. For he is the living God, enduring forever. His kingdom shall never be destroyed, and his dominion shall be to the end. He delivers and rescues. He works signs and wonders in heaven and on earth. He who has delivered Daniel from the power of the lions. The royal seal affirms it, and heralds hurry to carry the decree across deserts and rivers, through villages and palaces, inscribing in the memory of the world that the Most High rules over the affairs of men. Yet beneath the grandeur of this royal edict lies a deeper story, one never penned in Babylon's records or shouted in the king's squares, the legacy of the forgotten angel whose name no tongue can utter, whose face no mural depicts, yet whose intervention has become a pivot upon which the destinies of empires and souls quietly turn. For the angel's work was not merely to silence beasts or rescue the righteous, but to plant a seed of faith that would outlive the lions, the king, and even the empire itself. In the courts of heaven, the miracle is not simply Daniel's survival, but the ripple it sets in motion, a tidal wave of testimony that travels from palace to marketplace, from exiled remnant to the next generation, igniting courage in the hearts of those who would one day face their own nights of terror. The story travels beyond Babylon, finding its way into scrolls and prayers, retold by fathers to sons and mothers to daughters as the sign that God is present even where hope seems buried beneath stone and law. Daniel's deliverance becomes more than a victory for one man. It is a sign that the God who commands angels is never far from the faithful, that the true rulers of history are not those whose names fill the chronicles, but those whose faith calls down the hidden hand of heaven. The forgotten angel, unnamed in the annals of men, becomes a legend whispered wherever darkness gathers. A reminder that the greatest agents of deliverance may pass unseen, that heaven's might is clothed in humility, and that the purposes of God are accomplished not in noise and spectacle, but in the stillness where prayer is answered and danger is defied. In every age, believers facing their own lions' dens find courage in this miracle, tracing the outlines of a presence that cannot be described, but only recognized in the aftermath of deliverance. The angel's legacy is a living invitation that faith is not in vain, that the world's decrees cannot bind the will of heaven, and that the most enduring witness is sometimes written not in royal proclamations, but in the hearts of those who are changed by an encounter with the unseen. Before we continue, if this content has blessed your life, like, comment, and share. Subscribe to the channel, and if you would like to bless the channel, click the Super Thanks button and leave an offering of any amount or become a member. That way, we can continue investing in research and improvements to bless your life even more. And so, while the world celebrates the return of Daniel and the triumph of faith, a far quieter glory echoes through eternity, the work of a nameless angel, faithfully executing the will of the Most High and leaving behind a ripple that will never be erased. As Daniel's story is retold in every corner of Babylon and far beyond, echoing through synagogues and churches and whispered in the prayers of the persecuted and the faithful, a question begins to press quietly on the soul. Why, in the moment of greatest deliverance, does Scripture leave the angel unnamed? Why do the most decisive interventions in the lives of God's people so often arrive cloaked in silence, wrapped in anonymity, as if the presence that alters fate refuses to sign its name? This is no oversight, no accident of sacred text or failure of memory, but a deliberate pattern woven through the tapestry of revelation. A mystery designed not to obscure, but to illuminate, inviting every generation to gaze beyond the surface and consider the weight of the unseen. Throughout the Scriptures, this holy concealment recurs again and again. When Abraham receives 3 mysterious visitors by the oaks of Mamre, it is only by slow degrees that he perceives one among them as the Lord himself, yet their names dissolve into the desert wind. Jacob, wrestling all night at the ford of Jabbok, pleads for a blessing and asks for his opponent's name, but receives only the cryptic reply, "Why do you ask my name?" and departs limping, changed forever by the encounter with a presence whose identity cannot be captured. In the burning bush, the voice from the fire declares itself to be the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yet when Moses asks for the divine name, he is given only "I am who I am," a name that is not a name, a definition that defies every category and boundary of the mind. And again, in the fire of the furnace with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, Nebuchadnezzar sees a fourth figure, like a son of the gods, walking unharmed amid the flames, yet no name is spoken and no introduction is given. These moments, when deliverance is most profound, when the hand of God draws closest, are almost always veiled, wrapped in shadows and silences, as if the sacred must protect itself from being domesticated, as if awe and wonder require the discipline of unknowing. There is a divine wisdom in this pattern, a sacredness in anonymity. Names in the ancient world carried weight. To know an angel's name was to claim a measure of access, even authority. Yet the hidden angels, the ones whose names are never revealed, whose faces are never described, operate precisely where God desires to remind the world that the power belongs to Him alone, that His glory will not be shared, that no formula or invocation can control the movements of the Most High. The concealed identity of the angel in the den becomes a kind of living parable. The point of the miracle is not the messenger, but the message, not the one sent, but the one who sends. By remaining unnamed, the angel points all praise upward, refusing the veneration that so easily attaches itself to the visible and calling every witness back to the source. The silence is not emptiness, but fullness, a fullness of purpose, a fullness of presence, a fullness that preserves the mystery at the heart of faith. For to name is to limit, to define is to circumscribe, but God's acts cannot be captured in a single word, nor His servants reduced to characters in a drama whose end we control. There is, too, a mercy in the mystery. Had the angel's name been recorded, it would be sung in the streets and etched on amulets, the subject of endless speculation and perhaps even idolatry. Instead, God's people are left with the story, the certainty that heaven intervened, that prayer was heard, that faith was vindicated, not through formulas or access to secret knowledge, but through trust in the character of the one who saves in ways we do not see, through agents we do not always recognize. This is not a God who is absent, but a God who is everywhere, filling the world with His presence in ways that exceed our capacity to record, define, or domesticate. In the shadows and silences of the biblical narrative, the sovereignty of God is preserved, and the wonder of His ways is protected from the grasping hands of human control. The hidden angel in Daniel's den thus becomes a pattern and a promise. In the moments of greatest need, the Lord's intervention may arrive unannounced, his servants unnamed, his answers swaddled in mystery. But the result is always the same. Faith is strengthened, awe is rekindled, and the story becomes not the possession of those who witnessed it, but the inheritance of all who trust in the God whose greatest works are performed in secret. In this way, the silence of Scripture is not a void, but an invitation to worship. The unnamed angel, not a gap in the record, but a gateway to deeper reverence. For in the end, the question is not whether we know the names of those who serve, but whether we recognize the hand of the one who rules, and whether, when the next night of lions comes, we are willing to trust the mystery, embrace the awe, and wait for the dawn that only God can bring. Long after the stones of Babylon have crumbled to dust, after the kings and counselors have faded into the quiet of forgotten dynasties, the story of Daniel and the angel in the den endures, pulsing like a living current through centuries of faith, a story no longer contained by the geography of an ancient city or the memory of an old empire. It is retold at the bedsides of children and in the anxious prayers of exiles. It rings in the catacombs of persecuted believers and rises in the whispered hope of prisoners and martyrs, travelers and wanderers, all who find themselves surrounded by threats they cannot conquer and darkness they cannot dispel. The question it poses is one that echoes through every generation. If an unseen hand could reach into the lion's den for Daniel, might not that same hand still move in the hidden hours of our own distress, when the world has sealed its verdict and the night is thick with fear? The lions we face may wear different shapes: disease, injustice, loneliness, the grinding machinery of power, or the cold indifference of a world that values law over life and decrees over mercy. But their threat is no less real, their jaws no less sharp, their darkness no less absolute. And yet, the narrative dares us to believe that the den is never only a place of trial. It is also the threshold where the impossible becomes possible, where the boundaries of the natural yield to the intentions of the supernatural, where the hidden movement of heaven breaks through the stone and silence of earth. What if, in the silent hours before dawn, when every earthly hope seems buried, the forgotten angel walks the perimeter of our fears, barring the way of the things that seek to devour our peace, holding back the onrush of despair, enforcing a command no earthly force can overrule? What if the deliverance we seek comes not always with trumpet and thunder, but through the quiet intercession of a presence that asks for no name, claims no credit, but simply obeys the will of God for the sake of those he loves? The lion's den, then, is not merely history. It is prophecy. It is a sign written in the language of miracle and mystery, inscribed on the hearts of those who are willing to see with eyes of faith. It whispers that heaven is not distant, that divine rescue is not a relic of the past, but a living reality for every soul who entrusts themselves into the hands of the unseen. For the testimony of Daniel is not merely that he was delivered, but that he was never alone, that in the place of abandonment, he was attended by an invisible companion, whose anonymity preserves the majesty of the God who sent him and invites every generation to trust that the same grace is still at work. The story does not end with the rolling away of the stone or the issuing of decrees. It continues wherever a believer lifts a trembling prayer in the dark, wherever courage rises to meet crisis, wherever faith chooses praise over panic in the shadow of the impossible. Each lion's den becomes a new stage for the miracle, each hidden angel a reminder that God's mightiest works are often accomplished in the secret and the silence. The challenge, then, is not to decipher the names of those sent to help us, but to recognize the hand of the one who remembers his own, who rules above decrees and beneath stones, who fills the darkness with the promise of dawn. The narrative closes, but the question lingers, shimmering with the light of hope and the humility of wonder. When our own night descends and the world expects silence by morning, will we dare to believe in the movement of heaven, in the ministry of the nameless, in the faithfulness of a God who writes his greatest deliverances in mystery? The answer, like the angel's name, remains hidden, waiting to be discovered again and again in the sacred places where hope and history meet.